Hello and welcome back to the Fall Asleep Whilst Live Streaming Gamer Muscle YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to be comparing Assetto Corsa with Project Cars 2 using the trusty, nimble and somewhat arousing KTM X-BOW. Now in terms of comparison video, this is going to be focused on the specific force feedback, handling characteristics, and just the nature of this specific car between the two simulators. We're not going to be talking about the other features in each game and comparing the games as a whole. This is purely a KTM X-BOW Crossfire shootout. In order to do this shootout, we loaded up the KTM X-BOW R, which is in both simulators, and Brands Hatch, which is laser scanned and laser scanned in both simulators as well. It's also an absolutely fantastic track. Look at the hedges, look at the grass. What more could you want from a circuit? So to begin with, what's worth saying is that, as a rather surprise to my Assetto Corsa fanboy heart, is how close these two vehicles are in each simulator. It's rather shocking, but also absolutely fantastic, because if all simulators are going to move in the direction of having cars that have controllable slip, communicative force feedback, and generally handle like what I believe real cars to handle like, then the future is bright, and the future is orange. KTM X-BOW orange. Now, though very similar, we of course are sim racers and are very good at nitpicking. So, the biggest difference between the two cars, the most noticeable handling characteristic difference, I'd say after sipping my tea, is that the AC car tends to have more front end bite and is a little bit more nimble in terms of central actual rotation and its willingness to just turn into corners. Be that mid-corner, late corner, corner entry. The AC car just tends to want to rotate into the corner more than the Project Cars 2 car. And you also notice the grip loss with the Project Cars 2 X-BOW is a lot more progressive, and you don't have to be as tentative on turning your steering wheel too tightly to induce oversteer, or even the throttle application. You don't have to be as careful as with the AC car to avoid accidentally popping the back end out and getting it stuck in the slide. What you do find with the Project Cars 2 car is that if you do actually get the back end out and in a little bit of a slide, it's got more ply there and it's a little bit more usable, whereas the AC car, once you've got into the front end slipping way over the limit or the back end going way over the limit, you have to wait a little bit longer before you can get back on it and the car's fully back in your control. A really big difference between Project Cars 2 and AC though, and this isn't just specific to this car, but for some reason the grass and curbing in Project Cars 2 is like a black hole of death, and if you put wheels on it, it just sucks a car off. You have to turn your steering wheel 45 degrees in the opposite direction and just wait, slowly wait for your car to come back on the track. It's possibly the one thing that's annoying me with Project Cars 2 at the moment. It might be realistic, but if that's reality, it's annoying. It should change it in reality as well. So you find in Assetto Corsa that when you go on the grass, there's less grip, but it's not so much of an issue to take the car back off the grass and get it back on the track. You've been penalised, it's not ideal, but it's nowhere near as punishing as putting the car on the grass in Project Cars 2. Though you can learn to drive around it in Project Cars 2, you just have to put it into your head that you need to keep the wheel turned longer than you normally would in other simulators. Now another difference seems to be how the car handles big curbing bumps. A perfect example would be Dingle Dell, which is towards the end of the track. It's that tight right-hander hook. Absolutely fantastic corner. It's one of those where you've just got to smash it, smash that sausage, and if you get it spot on, you'll actually ride the sausage a bit. This is turning into a homoerotic novel, apologies. But, you know, when you get it right, it just feels fantastic. And what you notice is in Project Cars 2, the suspension seems to be more sort of mushy and rides over those kind of bumps in a smoother way, with it affecting the overall nature of the vehicle, offsetting the whole vehicle and pushing the whole vehicle wide. Whereas in AC, it seems to handle bumps in a tighter way, where it seems to upset the side of the car that actually hit the bumps more, but then you do get a sort of tight oscillation where the car's a little bit all over the place, a little bit loose, but it does come together sooner and quicker than a Project Cars 2 vehicle after it's hit the bumps. Moving over to the force feedback, and bearing in mind we're using a ridiculous direct drive wheel, which I've also pumped the force feedback up for this car, for this test. And normally when I'm streaming I have it a bit lower, but I thought, you know, we'll go balls to the felt with this. Probably artificially so, but you know, sometimes it's nice to have broken wrists. But I have to say, Project Cars 2 really surprised me in that the X-BOW in many ways has better force feedback in Project Cars 2 than the one in Assetto Corsa. Namely, it actually has pretty good brake feel, but where it seems to really shine is mid-corner and how it conveys the load on the tyres, the stiffening of the steering, presumably due to gyroscopic forces, but also then just when you're going down divots and the undulations of the track, and then what feels like subtle and very rubbery, nuanced tyre flex feel coming through the force feedback. It seems to just have a little bit more detail to that in Project Cars 2 with this crossbow than it does in Assetto Corsa. Conversely though, I think again Assetto Corsa's force feedback with this car is a little bit tighter and a little bit sharper in its response. So this is sort of a theme that we're getting, and this is, I think you could probably apply this to most vehicles, if not all the vehicles from Assetto Corsa and Project Cars 2, is that AC, for whatever reason, just has a tightness to it and an immediacy that's lacking by, say, 10% or so as an arbitrary percentage in Project Cars 2. AC does do a couple of things better than Project Cars 2 force feedback with this crossbow though that are really handy, and that is the understeer effect in AC for the front end scrub, which really helps inform you to let you know that indeed you are overdriving the car and you need to calm down a little bit. Go to your bedroom, Timmy, you're overdriving! It's really obvious in Assetto Corsa, where it's a bit muted in Project Cars 2. But again, as I say, in both cases, it's an absolutely fantastic car. The differences I don't think would be as noticeable on a standard force feedback wheel for people that have normal lives and haven't spent too much money on simulator equipment or don't spend too much of their life playing driving simulators. Both cars absolutely fantastic. Force feedback in both cars absolutely fantastic. Just people need to give more appreciation to these track day cars. I think it's easy to get blinded by the branded cars and fast cars. Really though, if you go to some of these track day cars and you actually give them a bit of attention, give them a little bit of a rub, lie on the bonnet, you know, the kind of stuff that you do around cars, you'll have a good time from it. So in conclusion, which car does Lord Gamer Muscle of Simrig, Earl of Direct Drive, Son of Tyre Model, House of Load Cell most approve of? And it's a hard call, you know. I think for the raw, competitive, hot lapping side of me, the AC's nimbleness and tightness appeals to me, because you always feel like there's a little bit more that you can get out of it, and it's just that little bit more precise, a little bit more responsive on the steering. So maybe the AC car in that regard. But then I do really like the force feedback feel of the Project Cars 2 car, and let's also not forget the day, night and different weather, and driving this car in different situations just adds to the enjoyment. So you've got that versatility with the Project Cars 2 car, which you don't have with the AC car. So I don't know, I guess well, whichever developer sends me the most amount of money really would define the best car. The lesson to learn from this though is how awesome it is that simulators seem to be moving in the trajectory of cars having controllable slip, being able to be driven on the limit without it being ridiculous. You don't need to be Stephen Hawkins when it comes to actually just getting a moderately good lap from a car, and having the force feedback and feel there. And both AC and Project Cars 2, with the good cars, do that fantastically well. Cop out conclusion 2017. Click the subscribe button for 5% more feel on the limit and 3% faster lap times. Like and dislike, and let me know in the comments if you particularly agree or disagree, and if you do disagree actually, say why, and then there might be something we can all learn from it. But until the next video, take care everybody, goodbye.